You are now the host, Henry.
Okay, host disable for, okay. Get the host now. Let me share my screen. Share desktop 1. Okay. Let me go to this slide. Let me go on slideshow. All right. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes, we are good to go, Henry.
Okay. So again, good morning, good afternoon, happy Thursday. So what I'd like to do today is to share with you in this webinar an approach to create a next best action design for your FAQ bot. The next best action design is an audience-specific approach that envisage various actions that could be implemented for a specific user, then let the user choose the best possible option to implement. This is also referred as the next best action or best next action, next best activity or recommended action design. This is a follow-up to Dr. Michelle Zhu's webinar last week on design patterns for human AI conversation. More specifically, the information portal design pattern that she mentioned. So if you have not attended or listened to her webinar, I would highly recommend that you spend some time to do so afterwards, because this will kind of give you, the reason why. So let me first start it with typically my reason to think about why you want to do next best action design for your FAQ bot. So as you know, I think you're quite well aware that a FAQ bot is an information machine gateway to your corporate, to your index stores and structured information. So often I'm asked to design such a thing. And I think, maybe you're interested in this, is you should ask what more, how do I design my FAQ machines to lead us to a mutual goal, benefits of goals? The audience, obviously, for asking the question, but also for the bot owner who commission us to build such a machine, and what are they looking for in terms of how does this satisfy their goals? So let me first start with really a quick intro on review of most FAQ bots. Typically, an FAQ bot does 4 things. The first thing, it resolves the audience inquiries by listening to their inquiries and break their inquiries into what I call user intents and entities. Typically, entities can be entities to support the question clarity, if the inquiry is kind of vague, or a better understanding of the answers using entities that are mentioned in the inquiry to provide a better understanding of the answers for the audience. So, people talk about NER. NER stands for name entity retrieval. That's a machine natural language processing technique to do so. There's a number of techniques to do that. And then once you do that, you basically construct a info lookup by matching these intent and entities against a database of question and answers, also known as the knowledge base. So once you get the closest match, you want to provide the audience with one best match answer. Not many, one. Optionally, you can also direct the audience with accompanied with the best answers to designated information sources, such as URLs or a particular specific web page. I usually call those our info dump. For further investigation by the audience, external to the bot usage. So you lead them to places where they can think about it. So if you look at this design goal is to keep the inquiry flow simple and direct. An observation that you can always make is that this design principle favors a one-way lookup conversation. Optionally, just to know if you answered well, or to continue, you ask, do you have more question, or can you with an up with a arrow with a thumbs up, thumbs down, you optionally follow it with a survey, if up or down. So that's how the FAQ bot works today. It's not a very much a two-way conversation, a two-way engaging conversation. So, so for me, you ask yourself, can you provide value beyond the one best answer that you provide? Another thing is, if the bot owner wants you to build an FAQ in front of, let's say, their policies, their human resource policy, they probably will ask you, how are people receiving my policies, and how you glean insights from what they ask. Typically, if you just give them the thumbs up, thumbs down statistics, and maybe a few things, they would want more. So what I thought, we would want to extend this design to, like what I wrote in there, facilitate learning by letting the bot interaction provide a way for the audience to carpe diem opportunities to learn about the policies in their best interests in the flow of their work. So let me show you how you would think about, or you would structure your design. So this is the standard block of any FAQ before I'm doing what I'm doing. So what I'm doing first is to provide beyond the one best question answer with other informations that take advantage of the employee attention once they read the first answer. And let's say if they like it or don't like it, but you improve on it by explaining perhaps how the policy affects them, some sort of guidance on what they should do, or perhaps if they don't understand certain things in the policy, they can ask about it. So that's the first value that you provide to the additional to the FAQ design. And then what you want to do also is now watching how they react to those. So I call this info motivated next action steering, because you steer them towards what they want to do next. And this steering is based upon, their willingness to continue, based upon whatever you want to motivate, how you want to motivate them. Perhaps also it's steered based upon the wish of your sponsors or build this device because they need something to do with the policy, such as compliance. And also you have to take into account the sentiment of the audience. Are they willing to follow, to do some more, so that you can steer them in the right direction? The steering typically provide your clues on engagement signal feeds. And these clues are implemented using attribute that you created during the flow. And it serves two things, because most people will ask, if I am a operational analytics person and I'm part of the sponsor for this device, for this machine, I want to say, how are they performing? Is it too difficult? Is it easy? Can they get it done? And if I'm a people analytics person, I would say, how do they like it? Do they like the policy? Do they like the way that we set up the policy in affecting them, etc.? What I found in designing FAQ bots is most of the time, if you do a pulse survey after you answer, the people don't respond. Even thumbs up, thumbs down. And if they respond, you don't have enough honesty, because they don't know what to say when you're saying, yeah, please give me a comment on something. That's just too hard for them. So you get like 1 or 2%, which is not enough, most to satisfy anybody in analytics. So this is a way for you to gather more than those threshold and help them help you to further this design with this bot. And because it helps them to basically get feedback to drive evidence-based recommendation to the change to whatever they're supporting. So just to summarize here a little bit, it takes action steering is a human audience-centric approach. It basically, it uses a combination of audience interest as well as objective of the business to help create a continuous way of engaging with the audience with the most relevant information or content offered. Okay. So this mechanism, the semantics of the mechanism, is based upon what I call what is Moore action mapping process. So Moore, Kathy Moore, I've talked with her many times. She's one of the leading designer in the science of instruction design for many things. She comes up with this knowledge graph type, which is shown on the left-hand side here. So the idea here is to treat conversation as if you are training or you teaching somebody something, streamlining training for the business world. So to do that, one of your key goals when you're designing this graph, where this is, where I show you here are all the main elements, is the business goal. You have to know, you want to think about, or you want to create attribute about the business goal. And then you'd identify how are people, who are the people, and how are people to do what to do to get to that goal. And then the activities around that goal, the job behavior that to reach the goal. And then the activities as in how in the behaving, what you have to do to get there. And then the information that support those activities. So you could design these activities. So once you design the graph, you could design also additional pathways to show how you can get one activity connected to the next and information supporting them so that they can show you a path to get to wherever they want to get to. Typically, in organizations that are strong in training, you can find them in what they call job aids. And basically, if you have job aids, you could reverse engineer them into this graph. Or if you don't have it yet, you can interview subject matter expert and create this graph. So that's the first thing that you want to do. So the next thing you want to think about, what I want to bring you into is now the outcome-based guidance. Outcome-based guidance is a type of design for motivation. So I typically use a style of this motivational design called ARCS, A-R-C-S. It stands for A, attention, R, relevance, C, confidence, S, satisfaction. So it sort of works like this. So if an FAQ, you start with listening to the customer may say, or the employee may ask for, I want to know about my PTO policies. Or somebody be a little more specific is, I want to know about PTO policies around, last week, Memorial Day. So as a FAQ bot designer, I would perform my NER and then provide an answer around the overview of PTO policies, and perhaps point them to somewhere with that PTO policy, somewhere on the web or something like that. If you follow this design, what you want to do is you adding all of these extra things behind it. So first you're saying, okay, you're asking for this. I am guessing based upon your profile, your employee role, your tenure, other things that you want to do. You want to have information about how to make decision on PTOs, or maybe you want to learn about, how to apply if there is such a thing around getting a short vacation around Memorial Day weekends. Or if basically if you're saying, well, I'm a shift worker, or I'm a worker where I need to do some things about how to change my shift so that I can take Memorial Day off, you do some of those. So basically you come up with all of these. These are possible things, and they depend upon the employee profile. Also, you wanted to look at these and saying, so what's next? Because what's next is also depending on their personal trait, their willingness to do things, and their willingness to, because like, for example, you said, for this person, because you are a shift worker and you just onboarded, likely you don't know how to structure something to tell your shift supervisor that you want to take a time off and change the shift to somebody else. So we would advise you on how to do it, so that you need to guide them to these actions, perhaps write them a skeleton of how to do it. Similarly, for another case, for somebody who's been here long before, but they wanted more specific thing, you may run them through a quick interview so that you can help them with how to fill out a PTO request form. And of course, you want to think about, are they doing it? Are you recommending, you're guiding, are they doing it? So that's the whole idea behind motivation, right? Motivation has two parts. There is the behavior feedback part. By doing this, you show them what, and you monitor them, and the motivation needs to move forward. So one more slide before I pause, and that's just show you how to, these are the 6 steps that you would need to do to design such a thing using Juji Studio. And I'll go into a little bit more detail after the pause, but just wanted to tell you, you don't need to program anything. This is how you teach it. So I'll stop here. Steve, any question, anything?
No questions. Please proceed. You can go right to the live demo.
Okay. So let me start with this. So basically, as you see, when I did the number 1, right? This is just lining up the Q&A, and the Q&A is based upon the Moore's graph that I kind of talk you through to design. And then the motivational flow path and all and things are based on the ARCS design that I kind of quickly talk you through. So these you have to do it outside of Juji. Typically, the design pattern, you can do it by hand. Most people do it by hand. Some people do it by hand and using Excel. Some people doing it by hand using Excel and PowerPoint or some kind of graphing tools. You don't need to have a very sophisticated one. Then once you get that done, you load the result of number one into Juji, into the Q&A board. It has a CSV upload, download. You can do that. You load it in, so now you got all the questions and all the answers that you want. And then you start using some AI stuff to paraphrase it and things like that. Next things is in the area of the result of number 2 and number 3. This is where you use Juji templates, because the reason I want to use templates, because a lot of them are pre-trained. If you found things that are already pre-trained on things that are close to what you want as motivational path, it saves you a lot of time. And I found, Juji has a lot of those things already figured out. And then there also the little meta help, which is coming in with a Juji toolbox, so that you can basically now you hook it up. And then once you've done step 4 and step 5, step 6 is an auto generation. You don't really have to do anything other testing and tuning. So let me go to a design and then kind of walk you through it, or how many people have some experience with design, working with Juji Studio? A quick poll. Anybody? Steve?
I have somebody, Donald has put me.
Mm-hmm.
Donald, do you have a question? You can go ahead. No question. We're good to go.
Okay. Okay, so let me switch now to Juji Studio. So here's an example of a bot that have some designs. I built this as a quick demo for a few people who want me to show how you build a FAQ bot for HR assistants. So on my QA board, I took a snippet, a small sections of their benefits. So it's not that many things. So here you can see things like how many paid holidays do I have, how many people, PTOs, hours, all that sort of things. So all of these things, I pulled them, the Q&A off of their manuals, and then I load them in. So once you load them in, let me show you first, maybe show you so I'll just download the CSV that I uploaded so that you can see. So you see the structure is question answers. That's the key thing. You don't have to have any of these things, because these things you can do it afterwards. But the key thing is you basically have questions and answers. And again, you see all of these extra things here. These things are paraphrased that the AI did it for us. We didn't have to do anything. We just put in one question, one answers, and the machine will be able to create paraphrases of different ways that people pose the questions. And perhaps, and again, this is purely by your own design, how would you want to answer it depending upon personality type? Okay, so let me this. Where is it? Okay. So now you have this. So like, let's say if I have this, and you can see here's all the different variation that that the machine generates for us. So we don't have to think about any of these stuff. And then on each one of these, I could add in my own follow-up. So the way that I wired up the follow-up is I could use making a bullet list to saying what is it that we want, and then perhaps leading them to somewhere, or basically create a multi-turn question answer session followed this particular answers. So here's an example of how that works. So let's say, okay, let's say I go to preview. So this is when I click preview here, I have just created the AI that generate this bot, right? You can see I haven't coded anything. So let's say I do something like, do we you see the bot give you an answer. This one is the answer, right? The one best answer. And this one, based upon how much it knows about you, it basically said, here's some additional information that I could give you. So Ava, being a very, very helpful agent that knows that you like a lot of information, so she's basically tells you, well, here are some other things. Here's a video that you can watch. So now this is what I call the info dump. This is the video that you can watch.
At Teletech, we believe
Right?
in lifelong.
You can see that, or if the person wants to read some more, they can do that. So this is now you're going outside of the bot, right? And now let me see how I can get rid of this crazy thing, because I can't. So now let's say you're done. I will conclude it by giving you a summary of what what you can do. And then I'm also leading you to where you can go and apply for tuition reimbursement, as an example. So I'll stop here for now, and some questions for me.
No current questions right now, Henry. I think we can go ahead and continue.
Okay. So basically, so now you see how I implemented it. So let's see what kind of reporting you're getting out of this thing. So first, when I build this bot, of course, I have to know, how many people using it. That's just standard. Where they come from, time of day, average spending. So because we're building a bot that kind of encouraging engagement or conversation, the more minutes and the more meaningful the questions are, that's better for us. So in order to do that, you have to know a little bit about the audience and what they ask. So obviously these things are people that do it. Pulse survey are offered, how many took it, and what is it that they're talking about. So now you're looking at, I'm an FAQ, what's my answer rate look like? right? So this is pretty good. I'm pretty close to 100%. You know, I'm between 100 and that. That's great. What kind of question do they ask? What's the frequency they ask? What are things that I don't know how to answer? And how many, you know, give me pulse survey. As well, the machine will tell you what kind of topic are they interested in terms of, you know, things that you ask. And as well as if you offer info dump, did they click it? And how many click it and where they're going? And then the most important thing, which is really exciting for me, is now because we engage, we understand, we analyze all the conversation there, and we can derive per session, per user, what are their traits? Because all of these things help us steer to the right place. You know, the folks, the answer, so that they come back, they like to use it, and we can also give feedback to our sponsors, you know, process analytics and people analytics. How is it? What is it that they're feeling, and how is it that they're doing? So that's kind of in my presentation. I'm open. You know, I know I use up half an hour, so I got 15 minutes more. Please pose questions.
Since we are done with the initial presentation, if you have a question, just feel free to unmute yourself and just ask. That may be a little bit easier than typing it into chat since we're at the very end. I'm going to go ahead and stop, take back control real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Harry, thank you for a very nice presentation. I especially